Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Today's March 11th, 2016. Earlier this week, the fellow YouTube channel How I See It, which I will link down in the description, asked me if I would collaborate with him and possibly other channels in offering a $1,000 reward to anyone who can provide evidence that there was a shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14th, 2012. The reason for this is to help bring awareness to the fact that we are being lied to by our mainstream media, by our city police departments, and by our federal government in regards to school shootings. We are being bombarded with false shootings in the news, often at schools, for the sake of propaganda, for the sake of agenda. So I told him, yes, I will make a video. Yes, I will offer the reward. None of us are anticipating having to pay this money because we have thoroughly researched this event and we are completely convinced that it is pure propaganda with no element of truth to it. So for anyone who can prove otherwise, this money's for you. I'll count it out. 100, 200, 300, 400, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000, Truth Seeker. Anybody who can prove that there was a shooting on Sandy Hook, I will be happy to send that money to you. I will be happy to put out an apology. I will be happy to take down my past videos exposing the hoax that is. And honestly, to me, it would be a relief because I sit here and I work hard every single day for free, exposing the ongoing propaganda. So if I'm mistaken, believe me, I would like to stop exposing what isn't true. But I know that's not what I'm doing. I am exposing the truth. I am exposing the liars in the media. So with that said, here comes a very thorough presentation on the hoax that was. There are many truth tellers out here exposing the propaganda in numerous ways. What I have done is, I have been researching propaganda in the media since September 11th, 2001. And what I have found is that media stories are contrived by the numbers. The powers that be operate by the numbers. Years ago, Christine Lagarde, the head of the International Monetary Fund, gave the world a numerology lesson. That was a major cluing in for me. Her doing that helped me figure out what I am now exposing to you. But learning the languages of numerology and gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, you can see through these hoaxes in record time. So let's begin with the numbers that are coded all over Sandy Hook. These same numbers are coded over many other shootings, including the Aurora, Colorado theater shooting, other school shootings, other public place shootings, all the shooting stories we've been bombarded with in the media the last few years. These same numbers can be found. So notice, in gematria, Sandy Hook sums to 40, 49, and 58. All of these numbers are significant, but the one that is most important is 58. This is the number of Freemasonry. Recently, this effort to bring back awareness to the Sandy Hook school shooting was put out on Twitter. It was called Say Their Names. Say Their Names. And in gematria, Say Their Names sums to 58, like Freemasonry, like Sandy Hook. These are the types of numerological gematria encoded tributes that show up again and again around these stories, propaganda pieces by the numbers. In simple English gematria, Sandy Hook sums to 112. Another special number, if you dial 112 into your phone right now, you're going to be connected to 911. This is the alternate dialing code for 911. In Turkey, that is their 911. The country, they dial 112 on the sides of their emergency vehicles as 112. On January 12th, they had the bombing there in Turkey, kind of reminding of how we had our big scare day on September 11th. Emergency dialing code number 911. Adam Lanza is blamed for the shooting in Sandy Hook. Adam Lanza is a fictional character. He's born April 22nd, which is the 112th day of the year. More on him in just a moment. The date of the shooting, December 14th, 2012. This is a date with 58 numerology, fitting the gematria of Sandy Hook, fitting the gematria of Freemasonry, fitting the gematria of say their names. It's also a date with 38 numerology. That's the number of death, a number that shows up in ritualistic death from celebrity sacrifice to these scare stories of shootings. So, fitting coding for the event that was. Notice in Pythagorean gematria, Freemasonry equals 58, and with the S exception, 67. First president of this nation, George Washington, a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, died at age 67. Anyhow, that 67 reminds me of the ages of the children. One of the most absurd details of this story is that all the victims were 6 to 7 years old, that were children, and there was no motive. Imagine an angry man going into an elementary school and targeting first graders. And a little bit we'll talk about why first graders. But notice the gematria of Freemasonry, how it corresponds with 6 and 7 year olds. 67, 6 and 7 year olds. The shooting took place in Newtown, Connecticut. Newtown has the gematria of 33. The nation's second biggest gun lobby behind the NRA is directly across the street from this elementary school. And as I have been explaining since 2013, all of these shooting hoaxes are making gun sales surge. Gun manufacturing, one of the only remaining industries in this nation. A lot of people think that these shooting hoaxes, the goal is to take away the Second Amendment. I disagree with that. I think the point of this is to surge gun sales, make money for the elites who manufacture the guns. I also think it is for the purpose of a eventual mandatory national gun sales tax. Hillary Clinton, likely the next president in the 90s, said that she was going to one day get a 25% national gun sales tax. I expect that to happen in her presidency. She also wants mandatory gun owner insurance. So all these gun sales, they can be future revenue with insurance, something that will surely come, like how those of us who drive are required to have driver's insurance. Of course, many people go without it, but that can get you put in jail. More fines and fees. Newtown, Connecticut, put it together, has gematria of 79. The word murder equals 79. This is a murder story set in this city. That gematria of 33, a very important number to the Freemasons. Again, it is the Freemasons, the Zionists, who control the media, who control government, who put on these propaganda stories by the numbers. You might recall the first parent to speak after the tragedy. He went on camera, he was smiling, looking down, and then when he got up to the podium to speak, which we'll watch at the end, he did this, adjustment, got his sad face on, and then explained how his daughter was shot earlier in the day. Something I guarantee you did not happen. This man might not even have a daughter. His name is Robbie Parker. Both the names Robbie and Parker have gematria of 33. This is very common in these shooting hoaxes for the fake victims, the crisis actors, to have this number coded into their name. Robert is also a name with 33 gematria. Robbie, short for Robert. Put it together, Robbie Parker equals 66. When you write out the word 33 and sum it, it sums to 66. Just a little note there. The day after the shooting, he did another press conference, and he let the public know that he had set up a Facebook page asking for donations. At the time, this was something new. I had never seen anybody ask for donations for the victims of a shooting on TV before. Ever since the Sandy Hook shooting, this has become commonplace. GoFundMe pages, Facebook donation pages for the victims of these false shootings. This is the way the federal government fleeces money from the unknowing public who trust their media, who trusts their government, and gets exploited. That's really the purpose of making this video and offering $1,000, is to wake people up to the fact of how bad they're being lied to. Hopefully, this work saves the public thousands of dollars from having it stolen by the federal government through propaganda. Newtown, Connecticut, as you would likely write it on an envelope in a letter, Newtown abbreviation CT for Connecticut, has gematria of 38, like death. Remember the date of the shooting was 38 as well. Death equals 38. Newtown, Connecticut this way equals 38. Newtown, Connecticut in simple English gematria also sums to 137, which is the 33rd prime number, and a number coded twice into the shooter, Adam Peter Lanza, a fictional character made up. On the day of the shooting, major clues were dropped in the media that this story was not real. You might recall that they arrested his brother in New York because they said the shooter had his brother's ID. My theory, and this could be wrong too, but based on the information given, is that the brother is a real person and this Adam Lanza is a fictional character made up for the shooting. The father of these brothers is an accountant at General Electric, one of the nation's most powerful corporations. These were the details put out in the mainstream media. Adam Lanza supposedly had his brother's ID on him, so they arrested the brother in New York shortly after the shooting. And then they explained it was a mix-up. Also, in the days after, you might recall that the media even admitted a drill was going on at another Connecticut school 20 miles away, and the footage shown of the school that was supposed to be Sandy Hook was actually footage from where the drill was going on 20 miles away. And they put all this out in the mainstream. So you should ask yourself, why would the mainstream media be filming a drill at a different school and showing that footage trying to convince an audience that that was Sandy Hook? The Daily Show even made fun of this, and they caught CNN pretending to be doing an interview on site when it was two people in the same parking lot. These are all things you can verify. They're all videos that are on the web. The mainstream media, Daily Show, they were even, trying to clue people into the truth about this whole Sandy Hook shooting and what a farce it was. If you've never seen the CNN interview with the two anchors in the same parking lot pretending like they're in different cities, you got to check that out. All of this stuff is evidence of the hoax that was. So anyhow, Adam Peter Lanza, the shooter, interesting name gematria. Adam Lanza alone, as he's most commonly called, gematria of 28. They said 28 people died in total, 20 children, 6 faculty at the school, plus his mother, plus him, for a total of 28. Adam Lanza equals 28. In simple English gematria, Adam Peter Lanza sums to 137, which is the 33rd prime number. Again, Newtown, CT equals 137. Also, the day he's born on, April 22nd, 1992, has a numerology of 137. Again, the powers that be, the Masons, they are fixated on 33. These numbers are very important. In gematria, Washington, D.C. equals 137. It is the headquarters of the federal government. Federal equals 33, 137, the 33rd prime. The meridian that cuts through Washington, D.C. is the American meridian. American meridian equals 137, again, the 33rd prime. Adam Lanza in simple English gematria sums to 73. Newtown is on the 73rd meridian. The word sacrifice equals 73. In the end, he died as well. Sacrificial character. There's another form of gematria out there. I almost never use this, but it's where you take away the vowels from a word. So the name Lanza without vowels is LNZ. You take away the A's. LNZ is interesting because L's the 12th letter, N's the 14th. The shooting was on December 14th, 12/14. Remember at the time, so many people were worried about 7 days from then, December 21st. What's 12 plus 21? 33. The scare number. People were focused on the week ahead, and then we get this big mass shooting the weekend before. Anyhow, LNZ, 12, 12th letter, 14th letter, Z's the 26th letter, 26 victims at the school, 20 children, 6 adults. Plus 1214, the date, 12 plus 14 equals 26. And I want to go back up here and show you something about Newtown in gematria. In Pythagorean gematria, N's the 14th letter, 1 plus 4 becomes 5, E's the 5th letter, W's the 23rd, 2 plus 3 becomes 5, T's the 20th letter, 2 plus 0 becomes 2, O's the 6th, O's the 15th, 1 plus 5 becomes 6. We already did W and N. I want you to notice how every letter in this word compresses to 5, except for T and O, which break down to 2 and 6. A lot like 26. 26 victims at the school. 26, a number of significance in the study of numerology and gematria. In gematria, it's the God number. The English alphabet is 26 letters. I don't think it's any coincidence that they chose that number for this specific shooting. The word Mason in Pythagorean gematria also has gematria of 26. Masons pride themselves on being the invisible architects of society, the keepers of knowledge. It seems to me that they think of themselves as gods, playing God over humanity, lying to them, contriving stories to control them. Again, Adam Lanza's birthday, April 22nd, the 112th day of the year. He was born in a leap year, though, so it was also the 113th day of the year he's born. But usually his birthday would be celebrated on the 112th day. Again, he's responsible for the Sandy Hook shooting. Sandy Hook in simple English gematria sums to 112. With regards to 113, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, the branch of Freemasonry that largely established this nation, gematria of 113. Also, words such as mainstream, dishonest, green screen all have gematria of 113. In the Jewish text, Baba Kama 113a says a Jew can circumvent a Gentile, which is a non-Jew, by lying to them. Think about that in light of this coding in words and what our media does. And think about how the Zionist Jews control the media. Not speaking out against all Jews. I'm speaking out against the Jews who control the media, who do this to us by the numbers and have for decades. These people must be exposed. Adam Lanza's birthday, he has the birthday numerology of 137, the 33rd prime, corresponding with Newtown, Connecticut, his full name. His birthday has a life lesson number of 47, another very special number to this nation, the Freemasons, the Zionists, the Zionist state of Israel, established in the year 47 on the 333rd day of the year, recognized by the United Nations with a 33-member vote. Mafia in Jewish gematria equals 47. Another number that routinely shows up. If you watch the very first video I put out on this channel, I said watch for the numbers 26, 33, 47, 74. These are the hallmarks of the hoax. Sandy Hook, as we know, one of the biggest hoaxes of all time. The day he was born on, also a date with 118 numerology. This is the death number in Jewish gematria. Obviously, we connect his name with death. We talked about the 38 connections to the date and more. Newtown, Connecticut, the numbers of death. Has this picture ever looked real to anyone? I mean, ever since I've seen this picture, I've thought, man, we live in this day and age with technology, Photoshop, the ability to create things that look real that aren't. This Adam Lanza character has never passed the sniff test for me. And keep in mind, when this shooting first happened, I did not know the language of gematria yet. I was paying attention to numbers being coded. I didn't understand gematria. So this has all been part of my awakening process and my learning process, what I now share. Notice he was born in Exeter, New Hampshire. Oh, before we get to Exeter, one more thing about his birthday, April 22nd. You could write that date 22/4. Terrorist strike equals 224. This is another number that shows up in tragedy. It was coded in a big way in the Paris, France terror hoax, Friday the 13th, November 13th, 2015. So I just think that's interesting. You know, his birthday connects with that phrase. And that event really did strike terror into people. I should note that the day Sandy Hook happened, I was still working. I was working in a private elementary school. That's what I was doing before I quit my job to work at this full time. I was working in a private elementary school in Bellevue, Washington, a suburb of Seattle, where Microsoft is by. Lots of Microsoft parents there. What happened that day because of the news coverage was several parents came to the school early to pick up their children, and they came terrified. I had a bunch of jobs. I wore many hats at this school. I taught there, and I was also pretty much the director of the school's go-to person for communication with the parents, writing school newsletters. We were bombarded with phone calls, emails that day about what we were going to do to keep the parents safe. Or not the parents, the children safe. I had to respond to emails. I had to write up a new protocol for safety at the school. People were freaking out. And what I was thinking at the time is, come on, people, this shooting's across the nation. You know, you have to understand, I was teaching during the day. I didn't get to see the news coverage. I didn't know what was going on. And I was just thinking, wow, people are really freaking out. I haven't seen people freak out like this since September 11th. That was my honest interpretation that day. I couldn't believe that parents were coming in to get their kids early. I even told some parents that I thought things were going to be okay. They wanted to take their children anyway. But anyway, that night, I stayed at the school hours after, writing a newsletter, writing a new safety procedure, responding to emails, calling parents back. So Sandy Hook had a very terrifying impact, I know, on a lot of people in this nation. I'm out here in Washington State, all the way across the country. People are still scared, thinking their school could be next. And you know that all throughout this nation, millions of parents felt that way. That's why the media does this. The fear-mongering has a real impact. It allows people to look to the government, to look to Big Brother for the solution. You know, people want to feel that they're safe. The government scares them and then comes in and provides the solution. The people don't realize that the real terrorist is the government. And if you look up the original definition of terrorism, it is government by intimidation. We live under a terrorist regime of a government. Terrorist strike. So anyhow, moving on, he's born in Exeter, New Hampshire. Some things that are interesting about this. Exeter, New Hampshire in Pythagorean gematria equals 99. In simple English gematria, 216. 99 always reminds me of 9 times 11. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it, but 2 weeks before this shooting, there was a project started by the federal government, and the governor of Connecticut was one of the first people to participate. It was the beginning of a measure to, curb gun control. And that measure, I can't even think of the name of it right now, but I remember it has gematria of 99. And so I just think about that. That could be a coincidence. 99, also 9 times 11. Those special numbers. But what stands out even more is the gematria of 216. 216 is a backhanded way of getting to 666. 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216. Adam Lanza's birth mother, Nancy Lanza, who he supposedly killed before going to the school, Nancy Lanza equals 666 in English gematria. Show you that math in just a moment. New Hampshire is also the 9th state. 9th state, Exeter, New Hampshire. What happens when you flip 9s upside down? 666. Anyhow, New Hampshire, the 9th state, has gematria of 139 and 67, numbers that connect to Freemasonry. Remember, we started with the 58, the Freemasonry coding. They love to code out their Freemason signatures. They do it as a religion. They do it as a ritual. I can't tell you all the reasons they do it because I'm not in the gang. I'm decoding, trying to understand more and more each day. The date New Hampshire was established, June 21st, 1788. A date with a life lesson number of 51, the number of conspiracy, a number connected to Freemason. Federal as in federal government. It's also a date with 33 numerology. Out of the first 13 colonies, 3 were established on dates with 33 numerology. The first and last, Delaware and Rhode Island, and the ninth, New Hampshire. Of the 50 states, 3 have 33 name gematria. The first, Delaware, the 50th, Hawaii, and the 6th, Massachusetts. 333, a pattern in the 13 colonies, a pattern in the 50 states. That's because this is a Freemason nation. 33, the number of Freemason obsession. The Sandy Hook shooting was the worst school shooting for a elementary, middle, or high school. The second worst school shooting in the nation's history. The worst ever is the Virginia Tech college campus shooting of 2007 when George W. Bush was president. 33 people were supposedly killed there, but I have news for you. This was a hoax. And my $1,000 reward that I put up at the beginning, I'll offer it if anyone can show that anyone really died at Virginia Tech. Another hoax, no evidence of a real shooting, another scare, all part of the building narrative. Another hoax from history, I'll add the reward money again. Columbine. Any video that I've done saying something's a hoax, if you can prove me wrong, that reward money stands. I am quite confident in my work, this research. I would be happy to see somebody prove me wrong, and I would be happy to pay them. Because I'm here for the truth, not to mislead. I want people to wake up to the tyranny we are ruled by so we can overtake it and create a better nation. That's the purpose of this work. The date of the Virginia Tech shooting, April 16th, 2007, a date with 47 numerology, a date with 27 numerology, think about 27 in death. This was the 106th day of the year. 106 is the number of prophecy to the Masons and Zionists. This was probably prophetic of the many shooting hoaxes to come. You know, when Virginia Tech happened, we weren't used to getting bombarded with school shootings. It was kind of a rare story, out of nowhere. Sandy Hook, we still weren't bombarded with them, but we've seen what's happened since. The injustice, the lies haven't been stopped, so they have ever increased in their pace. Now we get one of these shootings almost every single week. Some weeks we get even more than one. Sandy Hook on the 41st parallel north, 73rd meridian west. Interesting how if you add that together, it comes to 114, just like Newtown in simple English gematria. 41, the 13th prime number, USA equals 41. A propaganda story for the nation. The shooting ended at 9:40 a.m. That's the 580th minute of the day. 580. The 58 stands out in the light of all the 58. They said he was using a Bushmaster AR-15 with a .223 caliber round. That .223 is a signature of the Masons. Masonic equals 223 in Jewish gematria. And this shooting is just down the road from Yale Skull and Bones, the Masonic order that identifies by the number 322, the reflection. A Masonic order, the numbers in reverse. The official story says he shot his mother just before 9:30 and then went over to the school for the massacre. I think the reason they want to put the time 9:30 in front of our eyes is because 93 is a special number to these people. Propaganda equals 93. Saturn equals 93. Israel was drawn up on September 3rd in the year 47. The United Nations that approved Israel is 39 floors tall in New York. This nation began with 39 signers, the first of which was George Washington, a 33rd degree Freemason. These are all numbers of great significance. They like to put them before our eyes. Saturn is the keeper of time. His mother's name, Nancy Lanza, in gematria sums to 39. Keep in mind that Newtown's also not far from New York. They bring that up in the reporting, how close it is to New York often. Nancy Lanza has gematria that matches New York perfectly. New York's 39 the small way, 111 the big way, and 666 in English gematria. New York, everything's coded 3993 in New York. Last year was the 111th World Series. I predicted in spring training the Mets would be in the World Series. They won only one game, 9-3. None of this is coincidence. Also, with regards to the shooting beginning at around 9:35 a.m., the hands are on the 7 and 9. Minute hand on the 7, hour hand on the 9. Murder in simple English gematria equals 79, number we talked about in the beginning, where the hands are on the clock. That's also the 575th minute of the day. The word emergency in Jewish gematria equals 575. Anyone knows who's been in public school how often emergency drills are practiced. The last time I taught in public school was 2011, and I remember what we were doing, 3, 4 times a year. We were having a drill where we pretended an armed and dangerous person was on the campus. And what the drill was to turn off the lights, close the door, lock it if you could, have the kids hide under the desk and be as quiet as possible. And what a faculty member would do is go down the hall and bang on the doors and yell and pretend like, a crazy person was in the school. And we were doing this drill 3, 4 times a year, just as many other public schools were throughout the nation, simulating what it would be like to have an armed gunman on the school. And all this stuff is just mentally preparing the youth to live in fear. And think about what it is now in 2016 with all the news reporting of shootings. How many kids are going to school every day scared that they might get shot? This stuff has a real impact on the children's minds. Don't forget that a lot of this propaganda by the powers that be is to cultivate the future society that they want. And right now they are scaring adults and especially children. Something to think about. The story is also that the principal and psychologist were meeting right when he came in. Think about how in all these shootings they bring up mental health. This is all part of the narrative. All part of what they're trying to achieve. The agenda, the message. I'll link this post. I decoded tons of names. It's too much. It's a lot of the typical numbers. Here's what I want to show you though. Supposedly he shot the first graders. And at the time everybody was saying, how sick is this guy? Well, who targets first graders? First graders has gematria of 144. Just like the word 44 sums to 144, and 44 is associated with killing. This also comes in the time of the 44th president, Obama, a very big part of this story. This past year, he cried at the State of the Union in regards to the Sandy Hook shooting. A lot of people thought it was suspicious because he did something by his eyes with his hand before the tears came down. Don't kid yourself. Maybe he did have a substance there to start the watering. Should be noted that killer in Jewish gematria sums to 144. If you've never seen my work on the death of presidents in this nation, civil rights leaders, Malcolm X, and more, everyone's death is connected to 44 and 144. First president to die in office died on April 4th, 4-4. When you write out April 4th, just like first graders are 44, it too sums to 144. Martin Luther King Jr. died on April 4th. Malcolm X died on a date with a life lesson number of 44. His assassin got 44 years in prison. His assassin's name has 44 gematria. JFK, the last president to die in office, died as the 44th term president on the first day of Sagittarius. Sagittarius equals 144. His brother would die at 1:44 a.m. by the numbers. Abraham, the first president to be assassinated in office. Abraham equals 44. Lincoln equals 79, like murder. Abraham Lincoln equals kill murder in gematria. Died by an actor in a theater. The theater he died in had gematria 58, just like the place he was nearly assassinated 216 weeks earlier, the Willard Hotel. Should be noted that Obama, from the land of Lincoln, the 44th president, is born on the 216th day of the year, August 4th. United States of America equals 84. Think about 8/4 for August 4th. Lincoln died on a date with 84 numerology. I'm getting off the point. I'm just trying to pound home the significance of these numbers. Killer in Jewish gematria equals 144. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassin would die in prison on a date with 144 numerology. Killer in simple English gematria also sums to 67. Remember, he killed the first graders that were 6 and 7 years old. See how this all comes together? You see why they do this, contrive it this way? Pythagoras, way back in history, thought gematria was one of the most important things in the world. That's who also gave us the musical scale, so many mathematical theorems that we still use. This gematria was above all to him. And Pythagoras in gematria equals 58, said to be one of the first Freemasons. Just a little history there. We had Gene Rosen, the crisis actor, who said the escaped kids, he just found them on his lawn. Whenever that guy spoke in the media, something just felt off. I noticed the name Rosen has the gematria of 26, number that shows up a lot in Newtown. Gene Rosen equals 48, like hoax, like propaganda, like Illuminati, like evil. Also, Hollywood equals 48. Supposedly this guy was an actor. I don't think in any Hollywood productions, though. Gene Rosen also sums to 102, a number connected to United States of America. Show you something else here. This woman is supposedly the mother of a child who died at Sandy Hook. She goes around the nation speaking out about Sandy Hook. Her name is Nicole Hockley. Nicole, in simple English gematria, sums to 58. Nicole Hockley equals 137, the 33rd prime number. Hockley, also 79, like murder. Add 58 more, you get to 137. Nicole, 58, Freemasonry. These are all coded actor agents getting paid to lie to the people. I'm saving the best for last, Truth Seeker. Hope you're still with me. Some of the most important information is coming right here. The day the public phone calls were made available to everybody was almost a year later. They did it 355 days later, December 4th, 2013, a date with 49 numerology. Sandy Hook has that gematria of 49 as well. Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, as it's called, has gematria of 409. Drop the 0, 49. On November 25th, 2013, they released a 44-page report. 44-page report detailing what happened at the shooting. Notice it's a 44-page report, the kill number. They did that on a date with a life lesson number of 42, a number connected to Freemason. Also a date with 49 numerology connected to Sandy Hook. The biggest giveaway for me at the time that the shooting was a hoax, when I started to look into it myself, at the time this happened, Truth Seeker, I was a very busy person. Teaching, doing other functions at a school, working other jobs. I didn't have the time I have now to dedicate to research. You know, up until that point in my life, I was pretty much like a hardworking slave like the rest of us. Anyhow, when I saw this guy's interview on TV, I said, okay, something is really wrong with this. He was making jokes, giggling, talking about how he just examined dead 6 and 7-year-olds. I was like, this guy's psychopathic if this isn't a hoax. But anyway, Dr. H. Wayne Carver was his title. In gematria, Dr. H. Wayne Carver equals 75 and 93. 75 connects to New World Order, which is the order that established this nation. The New World Order is an old world order. It's a Masonic Zionist order. 93 also connects with propaganda, as we talked about, the 9/30 shooting. Now get this. Dr. H. Wayne Carver, on February 25th, 2011, submitted this to the state. Let me read this to you. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, that's him, would like to take the opportunity to comment on raised bill 1054. This bill would prevent the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner from unilaterally disclosing autopsy reports on pediatric homicides to the general public. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, as an institution, and I are very concerned about the privacy rights of individuals who are examined through our office, and particularly with respect to homicide victims whose families find their privacy and grieving invaded by the curious public. So, this is more than a year before the shooting. And they are making legal changes so that they do not have to disclose any information about homicides of children. And this ends up being the chief medical examiner for the Sandy Hook shooting. Do you see what's going on here? If you don't see what's going on here, this is planning for the event ahead. And look at the date, February 25th, 2011. This is what I mean when I say these people do things by the numbers and they are highly repetitive. February 25th, 2011 is a date with 58 numerology, connecting to Freemasonry, Sandy Hook, the date of the shooting. In fact, the date of the shooting has exact numerology as this, 58, 31, 13, 38. The exact same as 12, 14, 2012. Perfect numerology match. This legislation, this data proposal, none of this is a coincidence. I'm going to link this post in the description. All of these other posts here are from my blog in regards to Sandy Hook. I have a wealth of information here for you. Some of my favorite reporting since Sandy Hook was on the 44th day of the year, known as Lupercalia, which has gematria 44. It was said that a school shooting took place, and it was the 44th school shooting since Sandy Hook. Or 44th mass shooting since Sandy Hook is what it was. On the 44th day of the year. Then a little bit later in the year, there was one in Troutdale, Oregon, and they said that was the 74th mass shooting since Sandy Hook. And Oregon is the only state with 74 gematria. Masonic equals 74. You can come read all these posts, Truth Seeker. All of this information proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what a hoax this is. Dr. Phil put out a poem by these same numbers. These people are insane, Truth Seeker. Dr. Phil, total scumbag. I don't know how anybody watches that show. So next time somebody tells you to say their names, instead, show them this YouTube video and what this is all really about. And putting this stuff in front of people's faces years after the fact, reminding them of the lie. This is how the government operates. No morals, no honesty, complete propaganda. And by the numbers. Down in the description, I'm going to link my how-to gematria video for anyone who wants to learn this skill. I very much encourage you to learn this skill. It has the power to awaken, inform, and help you see things that you would otherwise not see. Now, here's the way I want to close out. I want to watch Dr. H. Wayne Carver's full press conference that he gave after the Sandy Hook school shooting. If you've already seen this, you can turn it off right here, but we're going to close out with this press conference.
On behalf of my wife and my sons, and on behalf of my other family, our people at the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, we wish to extend our deepest sympathies to the families and everyone else who has been so hurt by this event. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. The Office of Chief Medical Examiner got here, actually the Chief Medical Examiner, got here a couple hours after the building was secured. We were here until approximately 12:30 last night. We thank the emergency services who built us a temporary facility in the parking lot, and we took identification photographs and did preliminary identification on all victims and had everybody transported back to Farmington by about 1 in the morning. Our entire staff turned out, started the postmortem examinations this morning. We completed the children by about 1:30, and I believe everybody except the assailant and his mother will be finished tonight, and I'll do those tomorrow morning. Lieutenant Vance and staff have a list of the names and the dates of birth. Anything else on there? No. And that'll be distributed. Hope we got enough copies. Everybody death was caused by, everyone that we've completed so far was caused by gunshot wounds. And obviously the manner of death on all these cases has been classified as homicide.
How many medical examiners were there, sir?
I have 4 doctors and I think all 10 of my technicians, both the full-timers and part-timers, were there. One student from Quinnipiac University, this was her first day, that was kind of interesting. The majority of our investigative staff were working on this at some point, whether they were with us last night or on the job today. And I think a lot of our clerical or what they call processing techs who do the paperwork and so forth were there. They're up all on the second floor, and I didn't get there today.
Sir, you obviously, by the nature of your job, you deal with horrible things at times. Is this one over the top? Is this one a bit different than things you've dealt with before, sir?
Did everybody hear the question?
No.
Given what I deal with all the time, is this one over the top? I've been at this for a third of a century.
You get that, truth seeker? A third of a century. That's 33 1/3 years. Wait until he says all victims were shot between 3 and 11 times. 311, 113 Masonic signatures.
And it's my sensibilities may not be the average man, but this probably is the worst I have seen, or the worst that I know of any of my colleagues having seen. And that all the more makes me proud and grateful to our staff who, to a man, have just behaved most professionally and strongly. And I hope they and I hope the people of Newtown don't have it crash on their head later.
Doctor, on that examination, did you tell which caliber of the handgun compared to the rifle of these shooting victims were on this incident?
It's a good thing there's not being prosecution, because then I couldn't answer that. But all the wounds that I know of at this point were caused by the long weapon.
So the rifle was the primary weapon?
Yes.
And what caliber were the bullets?
Question was, what caliber were these bullets? And I probably know more about firearms than most pathologists, but if I say it in court, they yell at me and don't make me answer. So I'll let the police deal with that for you.
Doctor, can you tell about the nature of the wounds? Were they at very close range? Were the children shot from across the room? Can you tell?
I only did 7 of the autopsies. The victims I had ranged from 3 to 11 wounds apiece, and I only saw 2 of them with close-range shooting.
Did you hear that, truth seeker? All 7 of the victims he saw had 3 to 11 shot wounds apiece. Again, 311 Masonic signature.
But that's a sample. I really don't have detailed information on the rest of the injuries.
But you said it was the long rifle that was used?
Yes.
But the long rifle was discovered in the car. That's not correct.
Not correct, sir.
Follow up on that question. How many bullets casing the fragments did you find total? On the autopsy, tell us that.
Oh. I'm lucky I can tell you how many I found. I don't know. There were lots of them. Okay. This type of weapon is not. The bullets are designed in such a fashion that the energy. This is very clinical. I shouldn't be saying this, but the energy is deposited in the tissue, and so the bullet stays in.
Doctor, did the children die quickly? Are you able to tell that?
It's always a difficult question, and obviously I don't have. I don't have detailed information on all of them, but this is a very devastating set of injuries.
Did they suffer?
I don't. The best of my ability to answer that question, which is always less than perfect. If so, not for very long.
Well, most of the injuries.
All the ones. I believe so. Yes.
What time?
We did not bring the bodies and the families into contact. We took pictures of them, of their facial features. You have it's easier on the families when you do that. There is a time and a place for up close and personal in the grieving process. But to accomplish this, we felt it would be best to do it this way, and you can sort of you can control the situation depending on your photographer, and I have very good photographers. But
You know the difference in the time of death between the body that was recovered from the house and the bodies that were recovered from the scene?
no, I don't.
How young?
Sorry, I don't.
How young was the youngest victim, Doctor? How old?
Can't you just see what a goofy weirdo this guy is? I mean, it's just so obvious. Supposedly, he just got done doing autopsies on 6 and 7-year-old children who were shot 3 to 11 times apiece, and he keeps joking and giggling. Ugh, it's just gross.
Y'all gonna have to look at the spreadsheet when we pass it out. I'm sorry.
Did you dealt with? Was it the
All the ones I dealt with were all first. Everybody I dealt with, I believe they're all first graders.
Did the gunman kill himself with the rifle?
No. I don't know yet. I'll examine him tomorrow morning. But I don't think so.
Can you discuss the injuries or the fatal injuries?
I have not seen her yet.
In terms of the children, were they found all in one location, one classroom?
Guys, what are we releasing on that? Okay. Paul and company will deal with that. Paul and company, Lieutenant Vance is going to handle that one.
You said all of the children that you personally examined were shot multiple times. Is that the case for all of the children?
We discussed this briefly with the staff before I came here. There was, I believe everybody was hit more than once.
Was there any evidence of a struggle, any bruises, or?
In terms of the nature of the shooting, and was there any sense that there was a lot of care taken to precision from the shooter, or was it spread somewhat randomly?
Both? It's a very difficult question to answer. Okay?
Even the wounds?
Yeah. It's really, you'd think after the thousands of people I've seen shot, I could answer that question, but if I attempted to answer it in court, there'd be an objection and they'd win.
Doctor, can you describe, you said you did 7 personally, what these kids looked like when they came to you? What were they wearing? Can you describe what
They're wearing cute kid stuff. I mean, they're first graders. They're wearing cute kid stuff. You know? It's the kind of stuff you'd send your kids or your grandkids out the door to first grade.
And honestly, Truth Seeker, I mean, what is up with the media? Who asked that question? What were the kids wearing? I mean, who cares?
Doctor, can you discuss the fatal injuries to the adults?
They're similar to those of the children.
Doctor, the children that you autopsied, where on the bodies were they wounds?
All over. All over.
What about his mother?
Pardon? I have not examined her yet. That'll be tomorrow morning.
Were they sitting at desks, or were they running away when this happened?
I'll let the guys who the scene guys address that issue. Okay. Obviously, I was at the scene. Obviously, I'm very experienced in that. But there are people who are the #1 professionals in that. I'll let them handle it.
Doctor, you said that the bodies that you examined, the 7 had 3 to 11 shots.
And that's just the ones that I did. Yeah.
Just the one you
Yeah.
examined. So this man was sitting there shooting repeatedly.
I think Yeah, I think the guys who did the crime scene are going to be able to tell you something about how many cartridges were found.
Is there protocol for how you the order you did the autopsies, like the mother and the
Our goal was to get the kids out and available to the funeral directors first, just for, well, yeah, obvious reasons.
how many boys and how many girls?
Doctor,
I don't know.
you said before when I asked you about, you said third of a century, this is the worst you've seen. I know you're a professional again, and I know you have a veneer that you put up.
Just did you notice that when the person asked him how many boys were there and how many girls were there, he said he had no idea. He said it 2 times. You think that would be something that he would have an idea about?
Emotional at any point? Did this get to you at any point where you had to fight back tears?
Not yet. Okay? But, yeah, there have been times in my career when I've, for reasons I don't appreciate, go in the locker room and sit down and cry. But, and I think if you don't have to do that, you shouldn't be in this business. But for this one, not yet. Notice I said yet. All right, folks. Thank you very much.
Can you say it's for your name?
Yeah, sure. Just I hope you all put this in your calendar, because in 31 years and 26 as chief medical examiner, this is the only second press conference I've given. It's H. Wayne, W-A-Y-N-E, Carver, C-A-R-V-E-R, and it's the second. And that's why I don't use the H, because when my father asked my grandfather, he said, fine, but as long as you never call him Harold.
So can you just, real quickly, you said, did they set up a tent in the parking lot?
It wasn't a tent, it was this magnificent thing. It's sectional and it sticks together with Velcro, and then they stake it to the ground, and electricity and lights and heat appear. It's from the Department of Emergency Management, and I think it came from the Army, but I'm not sure. I think it's these things that they use to set up field hospitals very quickly, mobile hospitals.
And have all the children's bodies been returned to the parents or mortuaries?
I don't know. The mortuaries have all been called.
So they're ready to be released, these bodies?
The paperwork's been done as of 1:30. The paperwork is done, and if the usual drill is the funeral homes call us, and as soon as the paperwork's done, we call them back. That process was completed for the children at 1:30 today.
So you transported the bodies where?
To our office in Farmington.
Farmington. And how did you transport them?
We have our transport vehicles.
Say how many vehicles it took?
We have 3 vehicles and a lot of guys to drive them.
These vans or
We're actually, one of the highlights of my administration is that we make them as nondescript and unmarked as possible. It's to foil you guys. No, they started out at 6.
When you remove the bodies, can you tell us how the numbers were coming out of the 2 classrooms of the victims? Were most of the victims in both of those classrooms?
I don't have the differential between the 2 classrooms.
And the
Okay.
adults, were the majority of the adults found in the front office or in the classroom?
I'm gonna let the police handle that, because they're the scene guys.
Doc, you said you're going to examine the bodies of Nancy, Lenza, and her son Paul?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you doing that personally?
Yeah. It just so happened it was my weekend.
Doctor, you said you can't confirm that the gunshot wounds of the assailant are self-inflicted. Is that because you don't have evidence?
I just
You don't know. You haven't checked it yet.
I can't technically make that diagnosis until I examine it. Okay? I mean, I don't want to belabor the obvious. That's what everybody believes at this point. But in terms of my fiduciary responsibilities, I haven't executed them yet.
All right, so there was the medical examiner. Let's also revisit what Robbie Parker had to say after the shooting, the first parent to come and speak out. Just catch him grinning and smiling. The day after this, he would go before the media and ask for donations on his Facebook account.
Parker, I assume he's going to come back to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there. They're getting ready to come to the microphone, so we'll listen in. Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut. I've been contacted by so many people and agencies wanting to know how we're doing, and I just thought that this might be the best way to share those feelings with everybody. First of all, I'd really like to offer our deepest condolences to all the families who were directly affected by this shooting. My daughter, Emily, would be one of the first ones to be standing and giving her love and support to all those victims, because that's the type of person that she is. The best way that I've been seeing that is I have two really good friends at home who've set up a Facebook page to help raise money for Emily. And when I've gotten on that and just seen the number of people who have commented and expressed their condolences, it's been quite overwhelming.
My mistake. I guess he brings up the Facebook page on day one, too. He also does a press conference the next day and specifically talks about donating to the Facebook page. Alright, so these are the opinions of that video maker. He might not know that it's a shooting hoax, or she, but I certainly do. So that pretty much sums it up, Truth Seeker. I'm going to link this post that we began with all the decoding work down in the description, along with my how-to gematria video. All of these tools can be a valuable index and resource for you, so I hope you use them. Hope this presentation was clear. All of these frauds, Dr. H. Wayne Carver, Robbie Parker, all the police, all the government responsible for these lies, they all need to be held accountable and brought to justice. All right, until next time, Truth Seeker.